All right, let's jump right in. We're going on safari today.
Sounds exciting.
Yeah, this deep dive is all about safaris in Africa, but not the ones you always hear about. You want to go beyond the big five, right?
Exactly.
So we're looking at the best safaris in Africa from Brat Guides. And get this, Ethiopia is our first stop.
Ethiopia. For a safari.
I know, right? Not your typical safari destination, but it's apparently a birdwatcher's paradise.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, the book says there are over 860 bird species there,
That's incredible.
and over 30 of them are endemic, which means you can't find them anywhere else.
So what makes Ethiopia so special for bird watching?
Well, it has a huge variety of ecosystems, from mountains to lakes and even deserts.
So lots of different habitats for all kinds of birds.
Exactly. And one of the best places to see all of this avian diversity is Bale Mountains National Park.
Bale Mountains, okay.
Yeah, it's home to some pretty rare species like the Ethiopian wolf and the Abyssinian catbird.
The Abyssinian what?
Catbird. Apparently it was only discovered in like the late 1900s.
Wow, that's pretty recent for a new bird discovery.
Right. Shows how much there still is to discover.
Absolutely.
But, Ethiopia is not just about the birds. It also has a rich cultural history.
Oh, right. I've heard about those incredible churches.
Yeah, the rock-hewn churches of Lalibela, they're literally carved into the mountainside.
It's amazing what people can create.
And then there are the Simeon Mountains, with those dramatic landscapes.
So you could be birding in the morning and exploring ancient architecture in the afternoon.
Pretty unique combination for a safari.
Definitely. What's next on our adventure?
Okay, now we're heading to Uganda.
Uganda.
Yep, to see gorillas
Mm-hmm.
in Windy Impenetrable National Park.
Wow, that's a dream for many people.
I know, right? To come face to face with those amazing creatures in their natural habitat.
It must be an incredible experience.
The book really emphasizes how important it is to go with responsible tour operators, though.
Right, the kind that prioritize the gorilla's welfare and protect their habitat.
Exactly. It's not just about the thrill of the encounter. It's about making sure those gentle giants have a future.
Absolutely. Conservation is key.
Speaking of which, the book mentions something called the Batwa experience.
The Batwa experience, what's that?
Well, the Batwa people are the indigenous inhabitants of that rainforest.
Oh, interesting.
So it's an opportunity to learn about their culture, their history, and their connection to the forest.
I like how that adds another dimension to the trip.
Yeah, it's not just about observing wildlife. It's about understanding the human story, too.
And the interconnectedness of everything.
Exactly. And get this, there are also community-based tourism initiatives in Uganda, like Ride for a Woman and the Coffee to Cup experience.
That sounds really cool. Tell me more.
They're all about empowering local women and promoting sustainable practices.
So it's tourism that actually gives back to the community. I love that.
Okay, now get ready for a truly epic adventure. How about combining gorilla trekking in Rwanda with the Serengeti Plains in Tanzania?
Wow, that's like the ultimate safari combo.
I know, right? Imagine starting in Rwanda's Volcanoes National Park, trekking through bamboo forests to see the gorillas.
And then you're off to Tanzania to witness the Great Migration. Millions of wildebeest and zebra thundering across the plains.
It's like going from one extreme to another, from intimate gorilla encounters to the vastness of the Serengeti.
Incredible.
And to top it all off, how about relaxing on the beaches of Zanzibar?
Oh, wow. That sounds perfect. White sand beaches, turquoise waters. The perfect way to unwind after all that adventure.
All right, next stop, Madagascar.
Madagascar, the 8th continent.
Exactly. It's like stepping back in time with all those unique species you won't find anywhere else.
Lemurs, chameleons, baobabs. It's truly a biodiversity hotspot.
And it's all thanks to Madagascar's isolation from mainland Africa. It's been evolving on its own for millions of years.
It's amazing how evolution works, creating such unique creatures.
For lemurs, the book recommends Isolo National Park, where you can see those ring-tailed lemurs.
Ah, the iconic ones with the striped tails.
Yep. And to hear the calls of the Indri, the largest lemur species, you got to go to Andasi Bantadia National Park.
It's like something out of a movie. And what about those incredible baobab trees?
Oh yeah, the Avenue of the Baobabs is a must-see. It's like a scene from a fairy tale.
A road lined with those majestic trees.
So you've got rainforests, deserts, unique wildlife, and iconic baobabs. Madagascar has it all.
It does sound amazing. What's next on our list?
Okay, prepare for a complete change of scenery. We're heading to the Namib Desert in Namibia.
The Namib Desert.
Yeah, it's all about stark beauty and extreme contrasts. You got towering dunes, ancient canyons, and these shimmering salt pans.
I've seen pictures. It's like another planet.
The book talks about Sossuswai, with those iconic red dunes and those skeletal acacia trees. Some of them are centuries old.
Wow, that's incredible.
Right. It's a testament to nature's resilience in such a harsh environment.
So is there any wildlife in the Namib?
Oh, yeah. You've got desert-adapted elephants, or beryx with their long horns, and even lions that have learned to survive in the desert.
Wow, I didn't realize lions could live in the desert.
They've adapted to the harsh conditions. And the book also mentions the Skeleton Coast.
The Skeleton Coast. That sounds ominous.
It's a hauntingly beautiful stretch of coastline known for its shipwrecks and those powerful waves.
It's a reminder of the raw power of nature.
Okay, from the Namib Desert, we're going north to Kenya, but not to the typical safari spots.
Oh, where are we headed?
We're going in search of the Northern Five.
The Northern Five, not the Big Five.
Nope. These are a unique group of animals found mainly in northern Kenya.
Like who?
We're talking grizzly zebra, reticulated giraffe, bison oryx, Somali ostrich, and the gerenuk.
What?
Gerenuk. It's an antelope with a long neck that can stand on its hind legs to reach leaves.
Wow, I've never heard of that one before.
Yeah, they're pretty amazing. And the best place to see them is apparently Sasa, a lodge near Samburu National Reserve.
Sasa, got it.
But it's not just about the wildlife there. You can also immerse yourself in the Samburu culture.
Oh, that's cool. I love learning about different cultures.
So you can experience their way of life, learn about their traditions, and connect with the land on a deeper level.
Sounds like a really unique safari experience.
Okay, now we're off to Madikwe Game Reserve in South Africa.
Madikwe. Haven't heard of that one either.
It's kind of an alternative to the more crowded parks. It's supposed to be very exclusive and peaceful.
So more of an off-the-beaten-path kind of safari.
Yeah, exactly. And they have tons of wildlife, including a healthy population of wild dogs.
Wild dogs. Those are endangered, right?
Yep, and they're amazing hunters. You might even see them in action.
That would be incredible.
And here's a bonus. Madikwe is malaria-free.
Oh, wow. That's a huge plus, especially for families.
All right, for our next stop, get ready to slow things down a bit. We're heading to the Okavango Delta in Botswana.
The Okavango Delta. Isn't that a huge inland delta?
Yeah? And imagine exploring it in a mokoro.
A mokoro. What's that?
It's a traditional dugout canoe. You glide silently through the waterways, surrounded by lush vegetation and all kinds of birds.
That sounds so peaceful and serene.
It's supposed to be incredibly calming and a really unique way to experience the delta.
I can imagine. Just drifting along, soaking in the beauty of it all.
And for our final stop in part one of our deep dive, we're going somewhere truly special, Giraffe Manor in Nairobi.
Giraffe Manor. Is that what I think it is?
You've got it. It's a place where you can actually have breakfast with giraffes.
No way. Seriously.
Seriously, they have these endangered Rothschild's giraffes that come right up to the windows.
It's got to be an unforgettable experience.
Right. And the best part is, staying there actually supports conservation efforts.
Oh, wow. So it's not just a fun experience. It actually helps protect giraffes.
Exactly. It's a great example of tourism done right.
So we've gone from bird watching in Ethiopia to gorilla trekking in Uganda to having breakfast with giraffes in Kenya.
I know. We've only just scratched the surface, and already I'm feeling inspired by all these unique safari experiences. There's so much more to Africa than just the Big Five.
Absolutely. And we've got 2 more parts to this deep dive to explore even more. All right, let's get down to the nitty-gritty. How do we actually plan these amazing safaris?
Right, let's talk logistics. So, for Ethiopia, we were talking about all those birds. Timing is key for the best bird watching experience.
Makes sense. So when's the best time to go?
The book suggests November to February.
Why then?
Well, that's when the migratory birds arrive, which adds even more variety. Plus, the weather's good, cool and dry, perfect for trekking and spotting those feathered friends.
Right, you wouldn't want to be out birding in the pouring rain. Anything else to keep in mind?
Yeah, if you're after specific endemic species, you really need to do your research.
Because they might be found in only certain areas.
Exactly. Some might be in the highlands, others in the lowlands,
Got it. So, research is key for a successful birdwatching safari in Ethiopia. What about infrastructure? Is it easy to get around?
The guide does mention that infrastructure can be a bit basic in some areas.
So maybe a specialized tour operator would be a good idea?
Yeah, they can handle the logistics and make sure you get the most out of your birding adventure.
Makes sense. Okay, let's move on to gorilla trekking in Uganda. We were talking about those permits being like golden tickets.
Oh yeah, those permits are essential. And they're limited to protect the gorillas and keep tourism sustainable.
Right. So how far in advance should you book?
Well, the guide says to book as early as you can, especially if you have specific dates in mind.
Yeah, like if you're combining it with other trips.
Exactly. And here's an interesting tidbit.
Hmm.
Gorilla treks actually depart from 4 different entry points in Burundi.
Really?
Yeah, and each entry point gives you access to a different gorilla family.
Oh, so you can kind of personalize your experience based on which family group you want to see?
Exactly. But keep in mind, trekking through a dense rainforest to find these gorillas requires a bit of fitness.
Right, you're not just strolling through a park. What does the book recommend for preparation?
Well, the terrain can be uneven, and there are changes in altitude, so the guide advises being prepared for that.
Yeah, but hey, the reward of seeing gorillas in the wild is totally worth a bit of effort, right?
Totally. Okay, now, remember that epic combo we talked about? Rwanda and Tanzania?
Oh, yeah. Gorilla trekking and then the Great Migration sounds incredible, but logistically, how does that work?
Well, the guide suggests aiming for June to October for the best of both worlds.
Why that time frame?
June to October is the dry season in Rwanda, perfect for gorilla trekking. And it also overlaps with the peak of the Great Migration in Tanzania.
Oh, so you get ideal conditions for both experiences.
Exactly. Plus, there are direct flights between Kigali, Rwanda's capital, and the main safari hubs in Tanzania, like Arusha.
So the transition between the two countries is pretty seamless.
Yeah, it's well connected, so you can go from tracking gorillas in those misty volcanoes to witnessing those vast herds of wildebeest and zebra.
And then relax on those pristine beaches in Zanzibar. Don't forget that part.
Oh, right, the perfect ending to an incredible adventure. Okay,
Yeah.
Madagascar. We talked about how diverse it is, but getting around might be a challenge, right?
Yeah, I was thinking about that. With all those unique ecosystems and wildlife spread out over such a large island, how do you even begin to plan?
Well, the guide does mention that Madagascar's infrastructure is still developing, which can make independent travel a bit tricky.
Ah, so what do they recommend?
They suggest considering a guided tour, especially if you want to see a lot of the island.
That makes sense. Local guides would know the best spots and how to get around efficiently.
Plus, organized tours often have a smaller environmental impact, which is important in a place like Madagascar with all those endangered species.
Right, you want to minimize your footprint and support responsible tourism. What about choosing a tour operator? Any tips?
Definitely. Look for operators committed to sustainability. The book stresses supporting those who contribute to conservation and benefit local communities.
Great advice. Okay, next up, the Namib Desert. We talked about its stark beauty, but it's an extreme environment. What are the key things to consider when planning a safari there?
Well, for one thing, the weather.
Yeah, the desert can get pretty scorching.
Definitely. So the guide recommends going during the cooler months, from May to October.
Makes sense. What about accommodation?
Namibia has a great network of lodges and campsites, catering to all kinds of budgets.
So you can rough it or go luxurious depending on your preference.
Exactly. But no matter what, eco-friendly practices are essential.
Right, that desert ecosystem is fragile. What about getting to Sasab in northern Kenya? That sounds pretty remote.
Actually, the book says it's easier to get to than you might think. There are short flights from Nairobi to either Samburu or Buffalo Springs airstrip,
Oh, so it's not too complicated.
and then a scenic drive to the lodge. So you go from the city to a true wilderness setting in just a couple of hours.
And then you're surrounded by those unique northern five animals.
Exactly. And don't forget about the cultural aspect. Spending time with the Samburu people is a highlight of that experience.
Right, learning about their traditions and connection to the land. Okay, back to Madikwe. We talked about it being less crowded. What else makes it special?
Well, the limited number of lodges and the fact that there's no self-driving make it really exclusive.
Ah, so you get a more intimate safari experience.
Exactly. And being malaria-free is a huge bonus for families. No need to worry about that.
Definitely a plus. What about the landscape and wildlife?
Oh, Madikwe has a variety of landscapes, from Kalahari sands to dense bushveld, perfect for photography. And then, of course, there's the chance to see wild dogs.
Right, those endangered hunters. What about the Okavango Delta? What tips does the guide have for experiencing those Mokoro safaris?
The best time is during the flood season, from May to October, when the water level is high and you can really explore those channels.
Sounds amazing, just drifting along, surrounded by nature.
And for a truly immersive experience, many camps are located on secluded islands.
Oh, wow, that's like ultimate seclusion. Okay, last but not least, Giraffe Manor. Any tips for booking that once-in-a-lifetime experience?
Well, book early. It's very popular because it's so unique and has limited number of rooms.
Makes sense. It's not every day you can have breakfast with giraffes, so I guess planning is key for all these safaris, especially if you're combining multiple destinations.
Totally. Each one has its own logistics and considerations, but with a bit of research and planning, you can make your dream safari a reality. All right, we're back for the final part of our safari adventure.
And this time, we're getting into the heart of it all.
Yeah, the emotions, those lasting memories, the feeling of being connected to nature.
Exactly. Going beyond the logistics and really tapping into what makes these safaris so special.
So let's start with Ethiopia. We talked about how it's a birder's paradise.
Right, with all those amazing bird species.
Imagine yourself in the Bale Mountains, that crisp mountain air, and all around you, the sounds of birds.
It's like a whole symphony of bird song.
It must be incredible to be surrounded by such vibrant life.
It really gives you a sense of discovery, you know?
Like you're stepping off the beaten path and into a world teeming with unique creatures.
Exactly. Every bird you spot adds to the beauty of that ecosystem.
And you're tuning into nature's rhythm.
The cycles of migration, the ebb and flow of life in a truly wild place.
Okay, now let's shift gears to Uganda. Think about that moment when you finally come face to face with mountain gorillas in Bunin.
Wow, yeah.
You lock eyes with a silverback, that powerful gaze.
It must be such a profound experience.
To connect with those creatures on that level in their natural habitat,
It's a humbling experience.
it makes you realize we're all part of something much bigger.
And that we have a responsibility to protect these amazing animals and their home.
Absolutely. Knowing that you're contributing to their future, even in a small way, must be a powerful feeling.
For sure. Okay, now imagine yourself on the Serengeti Plains in Tanzania.
Yes, the vastness of the Serengeti.
The sun setting over those golden grasslands, painting the sky with incredible colors.
And then a herd of zebras thunders past.
Wow!
You can practically feel the ground shake.
That's got to be exhilarating. To witness that raw power and beauty,
You feel so small, yet so connected to that life force all around you.
and it's constantly in motion, that cycle of life and death playing out on this grand scale.
All right, now we're off to Madagascar, the eighth continent, with all its unique creatures.
Right. Lemurs, chameleons, a real-life land before time.
Imagine being in that lush rainforest, surrounded by these creatures that exist nowhere else.
It's like stepping into a different world.
A world untouched by time, where nature's creativity is on full display.
It makes you appreciate the importance of conservation.
To protect these fragile ecosystems, so future generations can experience that same wonder.
Absolutely. Okay, now let's go to the other extreme, the Namib Desert.
The stark beauty of the Namib.
Imagine standing on top of a massive dune, the wind whipping around you.
The red sand stretching out as far as the eye can see.
You can practically hear the silence?
It must be incredibly peaceful, in a way.
It is. You feel so small in the face of that vast landscape.
But there's a serenity to it. You shed your worries and just connect with the raw power of nature.
And it's amazing how life finds a way to thrive even in those harsh conditions.
All right, from the desert, we're heading to northern Kenya, to Sasab.
In search of the Northern Five.
Imagine seeing a gravy zebra with its striking stripes against that arid landscape.
It's a sense of adventure, being in a place that feels truly wild and remote.
And don't forget about the Samburu people, who've called this land home for centuries.
It's about understanding their connection to the land, how they've adapted and coexisted with nature.
Okay, back to Madikwe Game Reserve in South Africa. Remember, it's known for its wild dog population.
Oh, yeah. Those endangered predators.
Imagine being on a game drive and witnessing them hunt.
They're incredible hunters, working together as a pack.
It must be exhilarating to see that power in action.
And it really highlights the importance of protecting these animals and their role in the ecosystem.
Because every creature plays a part in the delicate balance of nature. All right, let's go back to the Okavango Delta in Botswana.
To that tranquil world of the Mokoro.
Imagine yourself gliding through the water, surrounded by papyrus reeds.
Water lilies brushing against the canoe, birds singing in the air.
It's like stepping into a different world.
A world of peace and tranquility.
You can breathe deeply and let the beauty of the Delta wash over you.
It's a sensory experience that rejuvenates the soul.
And finally, we're back to Giraffe Manor in Nairobi.
For that magical encounter with those gentle giants.
Picture yourself having breakfast as a Rothschild's giraffe pokes its head through the window.
He's pure joy.
You can't help but smile at the sight of those long eyelashes and that gentle nature.
And knowing that you're supporting their conservation just makes the experience even more special.
It shows how tourism, when done right, can make a real difference in protecting these incredible animals.
So we've explored a lot of ground in this deep dive.
We've gone from bird watching in Ethiopia to gorilla trekking in Uganda to experiencing the vastness of the Serengeti.
We've talked about the importance of responsible travel, of connecting with nature, and of creating memories that last a lifetime.
Ultimately, the best safari is the one that speaks to you.
The one that ignites your passion and leaves you feeling transformed.
So as you continue planning your adventure, remember to listen to your heart and let your curiosity be your guide.
And until next time, happy travels.